You gotta stop wasting money in AWS. If you're using a NAT gateway, there's a cheaper, faster, and more secure way of connecting your private instances to the AWS resources you need. Introducing the VPC endpoint. So let's get into specifics. With a NAT gateway, the current way you access your AWS resources is through the internet gateway, hopping out into the internet and then back into the AWS cloud in order to access those services. From a security perspective, that's just not ideal. Even though resources outside cannot initiate connections with instances within your private subnet, you are still exposing them to the internet and cannot guarantee privacy. Also, this hop presents additional latency, which makes your application slower. And finally, look, if you're just using it in a project and you're just using AWS services, you're just paying $32 per month per AZ for an NAT gateway for literally no reason. That's expensive. So what's the alternative? With VPC endpoints, instead, you're no longer having to travel through the internet. Your resources stay within the AWS cloud, keeping them secure. Your EC2 instances get routed straight through the AWS backbone to the resources you need, and that makes it cheaper, faster, and way more secure. Think about this from a cost perspective. If you're looking at a NAT gateway, you're minimum getting charged $32 per month per AZ once more, plus a $0.045 per GB of data transfer. Looking at VPC endpoints on the other hand, they are much cheaper than NAT gateways, coming in at $7 per month per AZ, and also $0.01 per GB data. But as we all know in DevOps, there's a bit of nuance behind it. Here are some important caveats to take into consideration. The main one is that VPC endpoints aren't just charged per month per AZ, they're actually charged per month per AZ per service. In other words, the more services you connect to, the more expensive your bill is going to get. Also, if you set up S3 and DynamoDB as something called a gateway endpoint, they are actually free. No AZ costs, no data costs. So make sure you take that into consideration when designing your architecture. And that wraps up the why behind VPC endpoints. If you want to actually understand how to connect to them though, I've got a 10-minute explainer down below that I think you might find useful. If you like what you see, give your boy some love. I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, and Insta as DevOps with Maz. Thank you.